Buen día.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wonder if the whole town probably knew we were out here. Yeah, they're sleeping over by the tank
Next to
river.
that drainage ditch. Actually, they're gonna wash their armpits in that thing in the morning.
Hey, senora.
We've arrived near the Broncos. Here we slept last night in Yocora, Sonora. So it's a couple more hours to Creel. And then we're gonna go on to Quachochi, but beautiful drive yesterday through the mountains. Unbelievable views. The road was so windy, like I was driving like 30 kilometers an hour, 30, 40 most of the time, just kind of tooting along. I think we did a whole day's driving and we went like what, 150K?
139 kilometers.
139K.
And it was like 5 hours.
Yeah. Well, the road before that was windy and potholed. And then we got onto the road that goes from Chihuahua to Hermosillo, or we were going the other way, Hermosillo to Chihuahua. And that road was actually very smooth, very good quality, but it was super windy. You're going up and down, around these, the road's kind of just hugging the cliffs and hugging the, but beautiful place. This actually, it reminds me a lot of Durango, actually.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, we were in a little town of El Salto. Very similar, a lot of logging around here, ranching. Had this nice little spot on the river. Lindsay's just cute as can be back there.
It's also, to me, like super reminiscent of Creel. I guess we're getting close, so that makes sense. But like, there's some cool like rocks, kind of cliff-like rocks back there, and
Yep.
reminds us a lot of like the area around Creel. So we're getting close.
We are close. How far is it? Like, it's not that far, right? A couple hours?
Yeah, like maybe 4 hours away.
Yeah.
Well, probably
10.
more like 8.
Anyway, we're gonna, I don't know, go for a little walk with our coffee this morning like usual. And continue on maybe towards Cascadas Basiasichi today. We'll see if we make it there. If we find a cool spot to camp, I think we're gonna try to camp there.
In Yocora, we came across this sweet, gentle dog with an obscenely swollen head. She looked like she had a rope tied tightly around her neck. She was skittish and scared. We carefully examined the wound around her neck, prepared to remove the rope. Unable to find one, I inquired with a local about her condition. She informed me that the rope had been recently cut off, but the swelling had yet to come down. Relieved that the good citizens of Yocora had intervened to save the dog's life, we moved on towards our next destination.
So this morning we left Yocora, Sonora, which was kind of the first town we got to, driving kind of east towards Creel on that main highway between Chihuahua City and Hermosillo. Anyway, so we got to Yocora last night, slept in a kind of a nice spot by the river. Tried to rescue a dog today with the ropes potentially wrapped around its neck. Anyway, I think that kind of worked out okay. And then we started heading east, and another spectacular drive through the mountains of Mexico. Like, look at these rocks. Road is super windy. I'm going like 30, 40 kilometers an hour. But we're just tooting along. We've kind of stopped a couple times to look at, little maybe good campsites off the road. I haven't found one yet, but we might have a spot near Yapachik by the river coming up here soon. But we're just tooting along, listening to some music, enjoying the cruise, enjoying the scenery. It's a beautiful place, super quiet. Like, we've been basically by ourselves this whole whole trip, the whole drive, you know. A couple times you get kind of passed by a vehicle, but no, there's nobody around, there's no traffic, beautiful place, just ranches everywhere. It's all fenced, but now I think it's mostly wood, kind of wood logging operations, kind of with little trails up into the woods. Look at those pine trees. Like, seems like we're driving through BC. It's like we're in the Okanagan, right? Pine trees, dry grass. The only difference is there's no beautiful lake down here.
In exchange, there are like pretty cool rocky cliffs and mountains.
Yeah. Look at these over here.
Yeah, man.
Look at that canyon back there. Should be a national park. This whole thing should be a national park. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
Look at that.
See?
Woo, hairpinner.
Woohoo! Good morning. Last night, we found this really cool spot. We basically had just crossed over the border into Chihuahua, so we're no longer in Sonora. And it's really beautiful around here. Lots of really cool cliffs and really winding roads and really epic mountains. So we found this really cool spot. It was kind of tucked down by a little river. Up the hill was just like this little shack house where a couple people lived. They had a little farm. And surrounding us were these tall cliffs. It was super cool. So it was just off the highway. So we pulled down and Braden got out and he asked the people living there if we could camp there. Podemos acampar aquí? And they shrugged, and they said, see? Braden saying they said, see. So they shrugged and they said, yeah. Like, they didn't seem to care. So we're like, okay, cool, this is cool. So we make dinner, and, you know, their dogs come sniffing around and all this cool stuff. And we decide, okay, the sun's starting to set. It's really nice. Let's go for a little walk before we're back at the van for the night. So we're walking along. We're kind of walking across the stones in the river, and you know, it's really beautiful. The sky is pink, and we turn around, and this woman from the house is following us. And so we stop and we wait for her, and I ask if everything's okay. And she's like, "Where are you going?" And we're like, "Oh, we're just going for a walk." Um, and she's like, "Oh, you know, be careful. There's a lot of like bears and lions in the area, like mountain lions." And we're like, "Oh, cool. We're from Canada. We have bears and mountain lions too." And she's like, mm-hmm. And I just got this vibe, I don't know, that like something was off. And I was like, "Is everything okay?" And she's like, we kind of eventually figured out that we weren't welcome to camp there. And she's like, "Well, you know, it's really cold at night. So maybe it'd be better if you camped in a hotel down the road." And we're like, "Oh, we're Canadian. It's fine. You know, we're not worried about the cold." And she kept like trying to beat around the bush, like maybe you don't want to camp here. And then finally she's like, "Well, that's someone else's property and you don't have permission to camp there." And I'm not really even sure how we got our wires mixed, because we definitely just asked, "Can we camp here?" And then she said, like, well, I thought you were just staying for a little bit and then, like, not staying the night. So we walked back and we were pretty disappointed because it was a really cool spot. Um, and it's just, yeah, it's just weird. Normally there's not like most Mexicanos are like super chill. They don't, they're like, yeah, you can camp there. Nobody's there. You're fine. But for whatever reason, from the time she agreed that it was fine that we camped there to that moment, I don't know, something changed. Anyway, so, we got back on the highway and now it's dark now because like we went for a walk at sunset and we're in the mountains. So now it's dark and we're driving down the road and it's like in Chihuahua, the road is worse than Sonora. So the highway is like potholed and really windy and it's dark out. And luckily, maybe just like 4 kilometers down the road, we find this spot, which is like a big open area. It's just off the highway, but like there's actually quite a lot of like space. We're not very flat back there, but it's better than driving the additional 13 more kilometers to the next town or whatever. And at night we kind of didn't really know what we'd find, so we spent a peaceful night here, uneventful as usual, but really strange. I'm not sure why that lady had a change of heart, but anyway, that's what happened.
We're getting excited to see the mountains unfolding around us, knowing that just around the next bend lie the Barrancas del Cobre.